pointed out what parts and pieces are relevant to adding something here without just repeating stuff. So a couple things. Jesus told us through the apostles, when he told the apostles, don't be surprised. They're going to come after you because they're coming after me first. He said, you are going to have trials and tribulations in this world. Now, he didn't say you're going to have those if you don't think about them, or if you don't pray to God, or if you don't give your tithes, or if you do anything else. You're going to have those. But this is how you're going to avoid them. Anybody read that in the scriptures? How you're going to avoid them? No. Did Paul avoid them? Now, Paul went and isolated himself for many years just to be with Jesus and find out what Jesus had to tell him. Because Jesus drug him down on the road and blinded him for a while. He said, maybe I need to pay some attention to this guy. So he went off and he learned more than what the apostles learned when they were with him. And he came back, and even though they had already set up a hierarchy and somebody else was in charge of the church at that time, when he came with his thoughts and ideas that Jesus gave him, they always said, we don't know how our brother Paul knows these things, but we know it's true. And Paul said, I have been abased and I have been abused by everybody, by the Romans, by the Christians. You name it, I've been abused and abased by those people. Why? Because he was carrying the truth of Jesus around with him everywhere he went. So why do we come along now and think that somehow there's something we can do, however many big things or little things that we can do to overcome all those things that Paul wasn't able to overcome, Jesus wasn't able to overcome, and none of the apostles were able to overcome? What makes us think we can? And Sue and Glenn have been talking about something that I thought was really significant. Just kind of jump into another point here. We tend to judge everything as good and evil. It isn't that simple. Many of the things that Paul described that he thought was good, he found out later, he viewed those same things through different eyes. He said, that was evil. And this stuff that I thought was evil, later on he looked back and said, that was good. And he allowed a lot of emotion tied up in that. So why do we think we're going to get a free ride? We're still humans. We're still on planet Earth. We have more attacking us today than mankind has ever had attacked throughout the history of mankind. Social media, wars that are global in nature. We think we're fighting wars in the Middle East. The Middle Easterns have come over and they're walking through Mexico across our borders and killing us in our own cities. And we're protecting them. We set up special cities just to protect those guys to destroy us. Is that nuts or what? Not to politicize here, but just the way we look at things, we always look at things good and evil. Go back to the Garden of Eden. Two perfect children from a perfect parent. And God talked to them every day. They got to walk and talk with him every day. And this one day, some sleazeball that convinces them that God's not a good guy. He's holding out on you. Now, their thought about that was, moments ago, we thought God was good. Now, this so-called authority has convinced us that he's bad. Let's go with that. How'd that come out for the rest of us? Now, I'm going to go somewhere with that for a second. God knew all that was going on while it was going on. Did Adam and Eve know that God knew that was going on while it was going on? Doesn't seem so, does it? So, otherwise, why would Adam waste his time with fig leaves? So he felt exposed. Something inside of him said, God knew that was going on. And we're going to be out of it as soon as he shows up. So let me cover myself up. Maybe I can hide here. But God came in knowing everything. Adam, what you been up to? What's going on? How about you, Eve? How you feeling these days? You know that guy over there. She just couldn't help but spill her guts. Because she was going to tell God about the serpent and about Adam. And then the serpent's pointing at those two, and Adam's pointing at God and her. So a lot of finger pointing, okay? But see, the thing is, God knew everything that was going on. We spend a lot of time working on the idea that somehow we have to get God into our heart. We started out born, right? And we were born, and somewhere along the line, if we weren't born with a cold heart, we got one now. Because we got the church to tell us so. We got a stony cold heart, and God can't possibly get in there. So if you just come over here and say this little prayer, and make all these pledges to whoever told you to say the little prayer, then your heart is going to start getting soft. And then guess what? One day, God's going to move right in there. And then God's going to live in your heart, right? Wrong! Where's God been all the time? Where have we been all the time? In God's heart. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean I have been in God's heart all this time? And somehow you're telling me that, how does that work? The church told me that, let's see, I'm in God's heart, and I'm not in God's heart. I got to get God in my heart. Let's see. Is that nuts or what?
Yeah.
We have always been in God's heart. Always. We were in his heart before the foundation of the earth. It didn't take our parents to get a sperm and an egg to create us. God had us in his heart before the foundation of the earth. And we have never left his heart. God is always knowing what we need, when we need it, and how to get it to us. What gets in the way? We do. Yeah. Yeah. It isn't us saying, you know, I'm feeling so isolated. God left me. He doesn't want to hang out with me today. What do I got to do to get him back? It ain't like that. It's what a lot of you mentioned today. The cares of this world come in, and we have minimized the impact that God can have on us because we're so preoccupied with whatever our cares are. And every one of us has cares in this world. And some of them are the same, and some of them are very different. But the fact is, we get really focused on that, and we wrap up all of our emotions in that, and we think God has left us. God has never left us. And we don't have to do anything to get us in there. That's a huge benefit, and that's the point I'm trying to get across here, is to realize the truth is that Adam and Eve was in God's heart even when they were messing up. And they were still in there after they messed up when he came to talk to them. And they stayed in there the whole time they were walking the earth. Where do you think you are? How about you?
God's heart.
Right. You're already in there. Enjoy it. Realize that the cares of this world can't yank you out of there. You are in there. You're locked in there. Does that mean you're going to have salvation for everybody on planet Earth? No. Because not everybody on planet Earth is going to accept Jesus as payment for their sin. That doesn't mean that God isn't going to be carrying them around, and God's the one that's going to feel the pain of the loss. He knows that. And he's a big God. You believe me, he's prepared for it, but he doesn't like it. That doesn't mean he doesn't like the people who are going to end up being separated from him, because he's going to always remember them. But no matter how you feel, up, down, sideways, or any other direction, know that you are in God's heart right now, have been for eons, and will continue so. The thing you have to come to grips with is, what do you do about those cares of this world? And God says, I know the answer to that one. I do. I know the answer to that one. Sounds like, looks like. Are you listening? Are you listening? Probably not. But when you do, he doesn't always tell you something that makes sense. I know that because we were losing our 5 children to drugs, and there wasn't a thing Denise and I could do about it. And we tried everything, and I'm not going to go through all that because I've gone through that in sermons and stuff, and Denise talks about it. But when we finally said, oh, God, we can't do anything in our own strength. We need you to get involved in this. We need you to help us out. God says, I've always been helping you out. How do you think you got this far? Why do you think they're still alive? And I said, well, okay, great. What now? He says, here's the answer, Larry. You got a garden outside your bedroom window. What garden? I don't see any garden out there. Nothing but a big weed patch. It was about this high. God said, no, that's your garden. He said, you need to go out there and work in that garden. And I'm like, give me a break. My kids are worth more than that. I'm focused on them. God said, no. No, you can't focus on them. I'm focused on them. He says, you go out there and work in that garden. Long story short, eventually I did that. It seemed like the most useless thing I could do on planet Earth. Couldn't see the connection. But the outcome was wonderful. And the evidence of that is one of them right back there.
Praise God.
They're all around. We've all seen them here in church and stuff. So, anyway, the bottom line here is I felt like it was important for me to point out that you are in God's heart. Always have been, always will be. And if you can hang on to that, you'll be able to let Him overcome the cares of the world for you.
Amen.
Thank you, Larry.